When people hear the name Redmill Advance, I want them to understand the seriousness of your business and the scale of your business. You're quite a humble person. You don't brag about it too much. You're not on social media talking about how brilliant and big our business is. But just tell us a little bit about the journey, where you are now, who you're working with, and the scale of your business. And also, why is scale so important when it comes to working with businesses, especially within financial planning?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. And it's been an intentional thing, Sam. We have flown under the radar, and that's been with purpose. And it's been really important to me not to be out there talking about how we're the best in the market and we have a solution that, is right for every single client. And, we haven't gone out there and we haven't pushed that message out there. The reason for that is I really wanted over a period of time to build up proof that our content is quality, that our proposition is quality, that the people sitting behind the business are delivering an incredible service to the academies that we run. So that has been with purpose. We've flown under the radar intentionally. Without talking about the obvious in terms of size and scale to help your audience understand, obviously I could go straight to, we millions of revenue and profit and so on and so forth, which is true. But I mean, in terms of giving you an idea of scale, I think the first place to start is, look, we work with some of the largest companies in the market. If I look at our academy solution in isolation, we've all heard of these large academies, right? So St. James's Place, Openwork, Benchmark, Mazars, Ascot Lloyd, Quilter PLC. These are the large academies that most people in our profession will know. So all of those companies we run. It's our technology that supports it. It's our learning content that supports it. And it's our charter trainers that take it into the classroom and, tutor these individuals in a virtual environment, but in a live environment. So the clients that we work with, I think, is a good indicator of how far we've come. These are some of the largest companies in the market. Also, you look at the breadth and depth of the content we've got. You wouldn't necessarily see that from our website because we've got, I think, 22 to 25 what I call retail products on there, exam products. But actually sitting behind our proposition, we have 500 bits of learning. Now, you won't see that from our website because to the larger extent, we're a B2B, we serve large clients. And those 500 bits of learning across our various CPD ranges sit for our corporate relationships. So the breadth and depth of our content, we have hundreds of pieces of learning. And within that, there's 6,000 technical questions across every product group. There is hundreds of videos, there's lots of assets in there. Now, that alone, from a governance perspective, incidentally, year in, year out, because obviously the CII, so on and so forth, syllabus updates every year, it's quite a task to keep that stuff updated. Budgets, we're obviously having to update that. But then I guess that comes back to, who we are as an organisation in terms of the size of the company as well, in terms of employees. The market may not actually realise that we were acquired in 2022 and became part of a larger education group. And within that group, we have a sister brand, for example, that does exactly what we do, but within the general insurance markets. Mm-hmm. Same technology, and working with some really major players, but for general insurance, we're financial advice. But across the education parts of our business, there's 30 employees, many more contractors retained and engaged on a ad hoc basis as well. And we have a really big middle office tier as well. So again, we have that large structure in terms of employee count. So look, as an organisation, we've been around for 8 years. We have a huge product range that we maintain every year. We work with some of the largest clients in the market. And we have, a really big employee count as well, Sam. So we're a serious business.
Yep.
And we have been for many years, but we've intentionally flew under the radar. And it's only now we feel it's time that we should start telling our story. And we wanted to do that when we could prove through the results that we've achieved in the last, number of years that we are a serious player.
From a business perspective and from a decision maker's perspective, what do you think credibility looks like? So what do they want to see from you? I know you reeled off quite a few things there, but what are the things mainly that they want to see and they want to hear from you? What's really important for those key decision makers in those businesses that want to take their training and development to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious stuff, right? They want to see quality product first and foremost. So whenever an organization comes along, they do look at our content in detail and they want to make sure that it ticks all of their boxes. If you think about it from a kind of organizational perspective, these companies, depending on who we're engaging with, they'll have different needs, right? So HR directors within an organization will maybe care about things like, can I access really good leadership training or management training or those softer skills? Can I, have a really good suite of well-being content or EDI content? These tend to be the things that HR directors are, and rightly so, focused on. Training and competence managers is part of that. So they tend to be more focused on how am I getting my people their 35 hours of CPD? How am I getting them their 50 hours of their PTS? How am I achieving that? How am I recording that? How am I making sure that they're hitting those numbers? And then compliance managers or compliance directors within those organizations, well, they tend to, not to stereotype, but they tend to be more interested in, are my people competent? Are they compliant? Can I evidence it? Are they doing their mandatory training every year? Are they doing their quarterly competency testing? And can I evidence that? So credibility, it depends who you're speaking to, right? Because within any organization, that senior management suite tend to look for different things. The good news is, incidentally, that we achieve all of that, right? So our proposition, our solution covers all of those bases. But credibility to these organizations, it is, well, size and scale of an organization is really important. That's important because it's the simple thing, Sam, right? That if we're running, I mentioned some of the names that we run for the large scale academies, it's really important to these academies that we're going to be around in 10 years. It's really important to these academies, that, again, the simple things like if 2 of our trainers don't make it in tomorrow, there's another 6 trainers that we can put in to, for that continuity. So that's really important. It's risk mitigation for these organizations. And actually, it does matter to these organizations as well that, if I'm getting a flight out from City later to head back to Edinburgh, if that flight heads down to the ground, plummets to the ground, and I don't make it back, Redmill will go on, right? I have a first-class operations director that can pick up the reins. She has a team, they have people. So it's about risk mitigation for these organizations. Credibility looks like them engaging with an organization that's going to be around in a few years, that has quality product, that's wrapped inside really good technology that gives them insights and data and a really good understanding of how, their people are engaging with content. It obviously does all the stuff you would expect it to do. It ticks those boxes from a, can I evidence that my people are compliant? Are they doing AML, TCF, bribery, corruption, their competency testing? Can I evidence that stuff? Again, that's really, really important. And I think the last thing I would say on it, and I do think that this is really, really important for any decision makers when they look at an organization in terms of who they want to partner with, is the people. And actually, are the people credible? And, the team at Redmill are incredible, Sam. And, we have such an amazing team. Like, they are such an amazing team. They really are. And when we talk about these academy propositions or our CPD proposition, even just from a learning and development perspective, they've been doing it for years, decades. They're so good at what they do. And the teams that sit behind operations and support are so good at what they do as well. And that matters to clients. They want to see that people are financial services experts, technically capable, but that structure exists within the business, that it doesn't matter if the MD doesn't make it home from this trip, that we're still going to be around and we're still going to serve them well. And actually, sorry, not to labour on, but one last thing, because it is a personal mantra of mine and something, a philosophy that we stand by, is that as an organisation, we put people before profit. Obviously, we're a for-profit organisation. We are seeking to make money, but we do put people before profit. And actually, I believe that if you provide an exceptional service, if you look after your clients, everything else follows. And that's really, really important to us as an organisation.
What evidence suggests that everything you're doing is actually working for the learner, but also for the businesses you're working with?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to go to on that is talk about pass rates, I guess, right? That, we do and can evidence that the learning content that we have achieves, 80+% pass rates across both our self-study and our academy tracks. That's the first thing. We constantly monitor that feedback. We constantly seek that feedback because it's really important to us to work in partnership with our clients and try and improve upon our content where we can. The other thing that we do is, from a training perspective, is we do survey the audience, and we look at that trainer feedback and where we can improve that. I'm happy to say that I can tell you, because I did look at this stat, we are 4.8 from 5 in terms of our trainer feedback. So that's a really good one, a really good stat that evidences that we're getting it right. But I think a big thing, actually, a really clear data point for me and for us as an organisation, is that we don't lose clients. So since inception of the business, we have had less than 5%, I'll say client churn, it's a horrible word, but client loss, less than 5%. Clients come back every year, they renew, they want us to work with them, they want us to continue training their people, they want to utilise our systems, they want to partner with us. And that's a really clear indicator to me that we're getting it right. The fact that we don't lose clients, and the fact that that client loss is so low over the last 8-9 years that we've been operating, is probably one of the biggest indicators that we're getting it right.